Hi, my name is Jamin Goecker. I'm a realtor in South Central Alaska, and my mission is to help people build intentional, significant legacies for themselves and their families by coaching them in real estate. Now, today what we're going to be talking about is Alaska a bad place to live? It might come as a surprise to some of you, but we actually have a very high turnover rate in this state. Part of that is just the transient nature of it. We have a lot of people coming up here working with the oil field or the military, and they're just PCSing out. But there's also a fair number of people that get up here. It's not what they thought it was going to be, and they end up saying, hey, this is great and all that. Love to visit Alaska. Might not want to live here, though. So there are some things about it that makes it not very appealing or not a very good fit for some people. So in today's video, we're going to be answering the question, what are the bad things about living in Alaska? And I'm going to be just as transparent as I possibly can about it. If you have any questions, by all means, leave that in the comment section down below, and be happy to get to as many of those as I possibly can. Before we get started, make sure that you do give this video a like, make sure that you subscribe, and let's go ahead and just jump in. One of the big things that makes people decide that Alaska is just not for them is really just kind of the extreme seasons. And by extreme seasons, I mean the winters are kind of long, okay? Depending on where you're going, if you go over to Anchorage, the winters aren't going to be that extreme. If you're somewhere from the Midwest or the Great Lakes, maybe the Northeast, somewhere up in there, you're probably going to be okay with the winters. But for those in kind of the different parts of the country that might be coming up here, getting into like the far north winter for the first time, it's going to be kind of a shift going from having a lot of sunlight during the summertime, nearly 24/7, to not a whole lot of sunlight during the wintertime. That really messes with some people. And then it's cold, and then you've got ice, and then you've got limited things you can do outside just because it does get so cold during a couple of months where you really just don't want to go and do anything. So for some people, the winters is going to be a big one. Also talking on seasons, having 24-hour sunlight for a few months during the summertime might not be your cup of tea either. So that's another thing that might come back and become an issue later. So be aware of that. Another thing that people don't really like about Alaska is just that it takes so long to ship anything up here. We are a long way away from the continental United States. Most maps don't really accurately show it, but Alaska is pretty remote from the rest of the United States. So for that reason, anytime you get something with Amazon Prime or you're expecting it within a certain time period, it's probably not going to come in when you're expecting it. I mean, for most of the time, when you order something up here, you have to kind of factor in like an extra week, sometimes 2 weeks before it gets up here from what the normal time would be. That at least has been my experience. If your experience has been different, I want to hear about it. So just expect extra time when you're shipping stuff. With also that being the case, bonus fact, some of the produce up here might not be as fresh as you would find it in the lower 48. Usually you're going to be able to find fresh produce year-round. Might be a little bit more expensive, and it probably also sometimes isn't going to be as fresh as you would find somewhere else. So that's something to expect as well. Now another thing that might be a bit of a turnoff to being in Alaska is sometimes the job prospects or job opportunities aren't as plentiful as they would be were you in the lower 48. For those who are resourceful and who are going to be good at their job and looking for creative ways to solve problems, there's always going to be job opportunities. But if you're just looking to get started out, looking at a place like Dallas, New York, any of the big city hubs, there are not going to be as many opportunities if you lived in one of those places. So that's something just to expect. The largest city in Alaska is really just kind of a medium, smaller size city for the lower 48. So just kind of keep that in mind. If you have a very, very specialized niche down kind of a job, you have to kind of do a bit of research and find out what your opportunities would be up here. Another thing that should be a no-brainer is it can get cold up here in Alaska. In Anchorage, not as bad. It still gets pretty darn cold during some months here. You do have kind of a time period where it can consistently get under 0 degrees, so it's going to be probably single-digit negatives for a little bit. With that being the case, though, you do have a lot of stuff you can go and do outside just as long as you bundle up. I mean, I even did a bunch of door knocking and all that when it was like -10 degrees out before, and I'm going to be talking more about that experience in another video. But yes, it gets cold. If that's a deal breaker, you probably want to just come visit during the summertime. Another thing that's kind of a detractor for a lot of people is it is a challenge getting up here. Again, it's kind of hard to see this on a map unless you're looking specifically for a map that's going to be accurate. But Alaska is pretty remote. The only way you're going to be able to get up here is conveniently is going to be through plane. And even when you get here, if you're going somewhere more remote, chances are you're going to have to go get a little puddle jumper plane and fly in, because sometimes there's just no roads going to where you're looking at. Ferry system works as well, but that's obviously you can't take the ferry up to Fairbanks or anything crazy like that. So it can be a bit of a challenge getting up here, and it's a little far away. So if you want to be really close to family or friends in the lower 48, if that's really important to you, then might not be a good idea. Has this been useful for you so far? If it has, make sure you do give this video a like. And if you have aspirations of moving up here to Alaska, post down in the comments section where it is that you're coming from. That way I can give you an idea if Alaska is similar to where you're going to be coming up from. Now, let's go and jump into today's video again. Now, those are going to be some of the negatives. Now, some of the positives, now keep in mind, these are some of them, is number one, this can be a negative or positive depending how you look at it. There aren't nearly as many people. There are only, I think, roughly 700,000 people who live in the entire state of Alaska. So, if you're looking at a big city or something like that, I mean, stretched out across the entire state, you realize, hey, there are more people in my city than there are in this entire state, which is ridiculously big. So, not as many people. Everything is kind of outdoorsy oriented. So, if you are really accustomed to just outdoor living and having an active lifestyle, this is going to be a great option for you. And lastly, one of the biggest kickers for most people is Alaska is just beautiful, especially during the summertime. You can pretty much drive, fly, take the ferry, whatever you want in any direction, and you are going to see some real world-class scenery and usually some wildlife to go along with it. There's usually a really good blend between the city life and regular Alaska. It kind of goes hand in hand in this area. So this is going to be your list kind of the things that are not really great things about Alaska. If these are deal breakers for you, then I'd think twice if you're looking at moving up here. That being said, though, if these aren't deal breakers, then it's time to really start considering at least visiting up here and taking a look around. If you do have any questions about what that looks like, make sure you post those in the comments section down below. If you really need to get a response from me, I answer as many questions in the comments as I can. But if you do for surefire need an answer from me, make sure you message me through my Facebook page, which the link for that is going to be down below. And if you're ready to start looking at kind of properties in this area, make sure you download my app, which discussing that is going to be at the very end of this video. So I sure hope this has been useful. Make sure you stay tuned for more content like this, and thanks for watching. Downloading my app is pretty simple. You simply scroll to the description section of my videos, click on the link there. It's going to take you to my website. From there, scroll down, hit download app. It'll take you to a place where you enter in your phone number. Enter that in, click send link. It's going to text you a link to the App Store. And from there, you'll have to click on that, enter in your email address, and then it's going to register you to the app, and you'll be able to start modifying your search. You can modify number of bedrooms, bathrooms, property type. You have a lot of modifications you can do on there, or just draw a shape to it. From there, you'll have the ability to go and just browse through, create your own specific saved searches on there that's going to make sense for you. Go ahead and add notes just so it makes sense. And that's going to be kind of the basic search capabilities. There are a lot of extra bonuses and things to this that make it really beneficial, like walking you through the entire process as a buyer or seller and giving you all the details that's involved with each one of those steps. So never at any point are you going to be lost in the process. So we've kind of just scratched the surface here, but that's just to get you started.